Good morning. My name is Tim. I want to talk to you today about Patreon. Those of you who are visiting and you use this keyword Patreon to find this, you know, Patreon is a website set up to help support creators. I set up the account on Patreon because I was working at the university here in Taiwan, and the new president decided he wanted to cut back on some things and shake things up as he became new president, which if anybody's been in the military, you know how that goes. Now, since I left the university, I've been working part-time, doing private tutoring, as well as working at some of the smaller cram schools, we call them here, that help students learn English. What I did is I set up Patreon, and I decided to try to focus on my writing in my free time, something I had given up for having a full-time job. And there are a lot of reasons and a lot of things to say, but we'll just skip over that right now. And let's just say I've been getting back into my writing, which is what I studied at the university. I went to the University of Oklahoma a little bit later on in life, and I studied professional writing. I worked at a newspaper before I came to Taiwan. I worked at a couple of newspapers before I came here. And then I worked at a newspaper in Taiwan, an English language newspaper, for about 4 years. And then I decided I wanted to try my hand at teaching. My goal at the time was to try teaching and writing. And then I found out the number of hours involved with teaching, which is roughly about 50 hours a week. Even though you only teach 20 hours, it takes about 50 hours to get everything done. So I found myself usually pretty tired and didn't do a whole lot of writing. I've done some ghost writing, or I've also done some, what do we call it, work for hire writing. I also finished co-writing a book with some of my colleagues at my former university. And that one went to print, and the other ones that I worked on went to print, but without my name. I did some editing for some of the books that were published by the university press or whoever they contracted to publish those. I want to focus on fiction writing. That's one reason I studied writing. That's a little bit about me and Patreon. Right now, I have 2 patrons, and of course they're family members, and I really appreciate their help. It's wonderful. What I'm doing, and it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit different, is if you're a patron, I'm going to give you an ebook. I'm going to give you an ebook every time I write an ebook, so you don't have to buy a book. So if you like to read, and if you want to read what I write, then this way guarantees you'll get a copy of everything I write. And I'll send it to you by email, or I'll post it in a private chat on Patreon. And I'm going to do this for everyone that commits to $1. I think if you're going to offer me some kind of support, the very least I can do is give you something very tangible in return. So $1 a month for 12 months is $12, and hopefully you'll get about 3-4 ebooks at least. I hope, if I can keep this up, and that depends a lot on the patrons. The more patrons I have, the less I have to go outside and find teaching jobs. Then I can stay at home and do writing and earn the money. I'll talk a little bit about my writing. I just finished a short work, and it's called A Christmas Carol Retold. Now what that is, for the people who don't know, it's here in Asia, the big publishers as well as some of the little publishers, they take public domain stories such as Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and they have somebody write it or retell it or whatever in a simplified form. Usually it's about 40 pages. Then they add some kind of questions to the work. Then they market it for about $3 a pop to schools and people, so that the people here can read some simpler English, feel like they're getting a little bit of the culture, and feel like they learned something. Later on, after I get some more stuff done, I'm going to put it on, I don't know, maybe Smashwords or some other websites, so people will be free to purchase it there. So if you're a patron, you don't have to worry about that. I'll send it to you. I'm not going to send you a copy of A Christmas Carol Retold, not yet, because I just finished it, and I need to edit it and revise it and whatnot. Some of my I plan on doing some of the similar things with other public domain stuff written by Dickens, and I really like Sherlock Holmes, so I'll be handling some of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle stuff and working on that. And if nothing else, I don't know about you, but I sometimes like to just read simple stuff to relax, and I don't want anything that's really complicated. My writing is more just a simple, it's like a TV show, a simple TV show. You just sit there and you watch it to enjoy it. When you get done, you feel like you've enjoyed it and you didn't have to think too much. That's what I'm going to do. In addition, I've got some old works that I did. I've got worked on a children's thriller kind of thing, which is a little different and is called Child's Heart. It's a little bit different. I have a work called The Inheritance, and it's about a detective, and his name is Russell Clayton. He's the rough detective kind of guy that I'm trying to flush out and get him in there. I've got rough drafts for both of those. I've got a child's or young adult type fiction, fantasy fiction, a guy, young boy, Kalen discovers he's got some kind of magical powers and stuff. I don't want to tell you too much. Some of you will want to be patrons, and some of you will prefer to just buy the book when it comes out. My goal is not to get rich. That's not a thing. I mentioned on the patron page, I'm just trying to make a living. I'm trying to stay off the streets and stay in a place that I don't need to say keep warm, because Taiwan is hot. Maybe keep cool, so I can run the air conditioner once in a while. And also that has electricity so I can do my writing. I really, really want to be very productive with writing. I've been waking up. I'm not here to beg. I'm offering viable or tangible things for your contribution. I have a Facebook page, and I have a Wattpad page. Wattpad, since I just started, I put A Christmas Carol Retold, I put that on Wattpad, part of it, and I put some other stuff on other things that are online so people could get a read of it. But later, as I write more and I have more patrons, I'll probably limit that so that the patrons are getting the benefit for their patronage. If you look on the patron site, you'll see that the $1 gets you a copy of all my work. $5 gets you more and gets you, and $10 gets you more. So everything you get some kind of benefit. $10, I think it is. I mention you in the little blurb we normally put in the book where we thank everybody for their help. All of that's there, and so please feel free to look at it. Another thing I'm thinking of quickly before I wrap up this little video is I'm thinking about, I use Linux. I like Linux. Linux is a good operating system. It's free. That makes it really good. The fact that it works makes it even better. And Linux has lots of free software. One of those is LibreOffice, and that's what I use instead of Microsoft Word. There's some other novel writing software that's available with Linux, and what I plan on doing on this YouTube site, or making a YouTube channel, that will help kind of walk people through an introduction to some of this software. So in addition to writing books, I'm going to be doing some teaching online. It'll just be screen recording and screenshots. If you're on Patreon and you're interested in those kind of things, of course, I'll be glad to, you can get those. If you're interested and if you enjoy reading, go to Patreon. You can go to Patreon now and you should be able to see some samples of my writing. You can read it and see if it appeals to you. If it appeals to you and you have the means, of course, I welcome all patrons. You can search for my stuff online. You have to do and see what you can find. It might be a little hard since I'm not famous and I don't have my own private website. I think it's a WordPress site and everything. Everything is usually under my name, Tim, T-I-M, Bullins, B-U-L-L-I-N-S. Most of the time it's one word, and you can give, search around and see if you can find it. Okay, thank you for listening, and please feel free to give me lots of feedback. I always welcome feedback.